Hi everyone, something a little different for you today. This is a gear section from my daughter's Magformers. I think that's what it's called, whatever the name brand one is anyway. You clip wheels or other gears and whatnot on here, and power goes in here. You'll notice, and those turn. But the problem is if you put any stress on them, it slips. So something has slipped inside here. Probably there's a little shaft, and one of these plastic pieces is now slipping on the shaft. Possibly a little super glue might work. That's not nylon. If it's nylon, it might not, but we'll see. So what I thought I'd do is try to open this up and see if I could fix it. It's the opening up that's going to be the hard part, I think. It looks like it might be glued or welded here. Those clips are for clipping other accessories on. Stuff's all pretty high quality, but that doesn't necessarily make it easier to get into. So I don't know that this is going to work, but yeah, this is showing all signs of being glued together, not snapped together. Let's try poking at this a little more. You see, it's like it goes right through the, yeah, and I think the whole thing's sonically welded together, or sonically, whatever. How do they weld it? I think it's an ultrasonic system that they use for welding plastic like this. Well, I may go and, not having Big Clive's vice of knowledge available to me, I'm actually thinking of going and hitting this with a rubber mallet to see if I can crack some of that interface. I do have a vise around somewhere that might work. I don't know if it'll work with this. Anyway, so let me go try that and let's see if I can get it open. Okay, the rubber mallet seems to have worked. I have broken off one of these pieces here, but I can now get into the whole thing, and I think there's a fair chance that I'll be able to glue most of this back together. Oh, we also had the emergency backup hammer, but that didn't prove the rubber mallet worked just fine. You can see that what I've done is I've broken all these glued pins that were holding it together. Right, so those all went together and they were all glued. You can see the remains of the glue around them. What I'm going to do is put more glue on it, I think, and we'll try and glue this in place here as well. Okay, so let's see what's slipping. Yeah, so this is slipping on this shaft. And this is slipping on it too. Does that unscrew? Okay, so that's supposed to slip on this piece, and this goes. Okay, so this is supposed to be press fit into that, and it's come out over time. You can see that it's kind of D-shaped where it goes in, and this is all covered with grease. So the first thing is going to be to get off the grease to the extent possible. I wonder if this comes out easily. Well, you know, there's no particular advantage to getting this out because you've still got to glue it through this thing anyhow. And this, yeah, so that isn't slipping. So what we'll do is clean this out. I'll go get some solvent and clean that out as best as I can, and we'll think about what might work. In a sense, you almost like, it's very hard to glue things to nylon, and this looks to be nylon to me. So I might try some super glue, assuming I still have some left. I'm almost wondering about something like Loctite that works a little bit differently. Loctite likes metal, but if it makes this thicker, then that might work. All right, so let me go clean this up, and we'll see. Well, the solvent that was most convenient to get is acetone, which is got to be a little careful about on plastic, of course. Also, let's use that to clean things up here. Also, best not to get on your hands, despite it being a nail polish remover, but just because something's... Oh, and you know, look at that. It does have a flat side. I couldn't see that through the grease. So, in principle, this shouldn't spin, but what's happened is that this has wallowed out inside there, but yeah, so you can see, well, she probably forced it. Do not underestimate a 7-year-old with a mission to get something to work. All right, I think that's mostly cleaned out. I'll close up the acetone here so you don't have to smell it. There we go. All right, so what I'm tempted to just use super glue here. I think that's probably what I'm going to try first because it's easiest, and what we're not really trying to glue it in place. I'm not really trying to glue it in place. What I'm trying to do is just provide some, oh, I'm going to need more super glue to finish this project, but just to have something that will fill up the space a little bit more. Yeah, this is almost out. Well, we may not work with this anyway. Well, if we need to remove super glue, what removes super glue? Acetone. All right, so we'll leave that in there and see what happens. To put this back together, I'm going to have to get some more super glue, so that will be something to do this afternoon. Well, it's already starting to harden up. So, well, maybe that'll work. Then the question will be getting this back together. This will need to be glued on here. And, sorry, that's the air conditioner starting and the window's open because I was using acetone. And then we'll, I think, let's see how this lines up. But probably just put glue on each of the broken pins there and hope that's sufficient to hold it together. It does look pretty positive, right? It does look like that'll work, and then this will just be glued back in place here. Well, before I put it together. So I'll do that later on this afternoon, and I guess bring you back to see the end result. So I'm back here with a magnet toy gearbox. I guess I call it that. And we have some dollar store super glue. So let's see if we can get this all glued back together. So just to get some idea first, I want to figure out which way this went when it tore off. So I'm going to try to get the correct. Well, that's not going to be it. So because the question really is, you know, how much the various, oh, and we also got, okay, so that goes like that. And you can tell because one of them didn't glue when the pieces went together. One of them didn't glue properly, so that one has stayed up here. And what we'll do is we'll put super glue on each of these, and then when we push it back together, hopefully that will be sufficient. They probably used some sort of a similar adhesive when they put it together in the first place. All right, so the first thing we need to do is put this back on here. I'm just going to probably just do that with my fingernail. There's a little bit that's come over here that is keeping this from, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so we'll just super glue this back into place. Nothing fancy. And see how that works for a start. Did I not have it screwed in enough? I guess not. So the way these tubes are supposed to work is you screw down this and it pops open the little, there we go, little aluminum tube. Of course, they used to be lead back in the day. Wonder if they're pure aluminum? Probably. Or whether there's some sort of alloy that is desirable for this purpose, making tubes. I'll just hold this until it's this end here on the top from your side is properly held onto. The other side here appears to be a bit off. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to just, I know it doesn't work as effectively this way, but I'll put a little bit around the back there and let that dry just to sort of hold this in place. It's going to be inside here, so it shouldn't have much strain on it directly, but this does act as an anti-turn device when the motor sections are attached to it. So I'll give that 5 minutes, then we'll go back and glue the whole thing together. Okay, so the glue seems to be holding okay there. So the next part is to put in the gears, which we have here, and then the plastic thing that holds this whole assembly in place. It was not glued, so I'm not going to glue it. So what I'm going to do now is just put a spot of super glue on each of these where I've broken the pegs off. We'll put that back, and then we'll slide this together, spin that, and honestly, that should be it. So it appears to be fixed. We have a couple of small pieces of broken plastic. I'm hopeful that this plastic piece that I glued in, that's this side, will actually stay in place because it's held by the surrounding plastic here. If that's a problem, I'll probably just glue it to the plastic on the side here. Well, I hope that's been helpful. I think there's not too much revelation about this, but the one interesting thing is how to get into it. And since it's held by those 6 interior pillars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that are glued with super glue or whatever they chose to use, inside, really the only way to do it is to break them off. And I actually think my rubber mallet technique, which you can sort of see where it was against the floor there. I hit it here, and I hit it here with the rubber mallet, and that appeared to flex the whole thing enough to pop the interior tabs. The other approach would be, Big Clive's style vise of knowledge would work in the same way, right? Because what that does is that flexes whatever you're doing, and it pops the glue joints, but more importantly, if it's got some interior pillars that are holding it in position, it pops them off. And the thing is, for something like this, 9 times out of 10 you can glue them back together. And really the easiest adhesive to use for that is super glue. By the time you're fixing a toy like this, your expectation is to get a few years out of it, tops, right? It's undoubtedly the little gear here will come off again at some point. All right, well, I hope that's helpful for someone. Have a good afternoon.